Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and I hope you're doing well. So in today's video I wanted to share my one tip that I truly believe got me the A in my A-Levels, and obviously I wanted to do like a detailed version of this tip because I've spoken about it vaguely in all my other A-level videos, but I wanted to show you the process of what I did and how I did it. So this is the book that I used for my mind maps. I also did it for biology and psychology, but I'm going to show you the version for economics. I actually created one per theme for econ and I'm going to show you in detail. The reason why I think that this genuinely helped me get those grades is because it ensured that I covered everything. And if you followed my channel for the last 2 years, you'll know that I tell everyone to use the spec like it's your best friend. Like, you have to use the spec to be able to get the best grade possible, and this technique / method is the reason why it helped me like go through everything. This is an example and I'm going to show you like different like ones as well. I basically use the spec to correlate what's going to be from the spec. So this is a spec that you'll be given, and I basically use this to create this, and I feel like the best way for me to explain it is to show you. And for example, what I did was on the page I would see globalization would be spec 4.1.1. So what I did was I wrote that title, the subject content right in the middle, globalization, and I also wrote the number 4.1.1 because this just made it so much easier to quickly reference. Like, rather than the title, I would just be able to write like 4.1.6 or the restrictions of free trade. It just helped me like cross-check everything. And then if you can see, A is here and it says characteristics of globalization. I literally copied that here and I wrote out all the different things, like the characteristics of globalization, for example, interdependent movement of financial flows, like all the different reasons. Well, not another thing, do not write all the reasons because you won't need all of them depending on what it is, but like characteristics I wrote 1 2 3 4 5 literally, and the definition, because not everything you'll need a definition, but I knew I needed it for this globalization bit. I literally just wrote the words. Like, there is no need to write sentences and stuff because you're revising from it, you're not creating notes. Like, you're going to use this on the day before your exam when you revise. Like, you need to make it really simple. What I would do is to, when you've done it, either on like another spreadsheet or like a document, just like tick it even, or what I did, as you can tell because it's highlighted, every time I did a point and I knew I covered it, I would highlight it. That way I knew in the back of my mind I'd covered it. And then, for example, point B is factors contributing to globalization. So in the spec, like point C, it says the impacts of globalization on XYZ. When they write XYZ, you need to know XYZ. So I wrote basically XYZ. I wrote the impact on the countries, and I had like a bullet point for countries, workers, developed country. Well, I split countries into two, then government. So can you tell, like, I've split it out per the spec. That way, when I highlighted it, I knew that I covered the workers part, the government part, the environment part, and then it was done and I could move on to the next point. I think it's so important to like reassure yourself, because I think when you go into the exam you want to feel confident, you want to know that you've gone through everything, regardless if they ask you a 20 marker, a 50 marker or a 2 marker, you've gone through it all. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you another example, because when we went through further down the spec, obviously there'll be diagrams and stuff. So the same thing, if I needed a diagram, which for example in economics I had plenty of graphs, I also drew them as well in here. So if point B was measurements of income and I need to know a graph, which I did, I drew that here, and I didn't explain it fully. I wrote what the graph was, like called the Lorenz curve, and what the like x-axis and the y-axis was, and that is it. And like just simple little things like that, just to help you remember the key details, because once you have like the little points, you'll end up remembering everything else. Another bit that's really important is when you have an essay or an essay-based subject, you're going to have to know like the advantages, disadvantages for evaluation. Make sure you write out everything, like make sure you write out both parts. Like even if you feel like you don't know it, that's the time to realize that you should like utilize that and like find it through a textbook or on an online resource, and then that way you know you've covered your back, so you can write advantages, disadvantages. That way you can track, and then again you can highlight what you've done. Again, you do not need like 10 points. Like realistically, for a 20 marker you only need 2 to 3 points. Like I only use 2, but just have 3 just in case. So only have the 3, and I literally wrote like doesn't consider housing, unemployment, or environment. Like I don't know what that's to do with, but just like that simple phrase, and then that way you can go into more detail later. This is where I want to go through color coding, because you do not need to make it pretty. Like this is obviously for you to revise from. No one's gonna like want to see it, and I color coded mine, but I didn't make it look pretty. Like my handwriting is so messy, like you can literally see. But the reason why color coding is helpful in this instance is because when you do essays, you will have to have like the content or like the context, actually both. Like I think it was like maybe a definition, a bit of content, then like adding a bit of context from like country data or stats. But then you're also going to need evaluation. What I did my evaluation in a different colour, and that is important because when you practice the day before the exam, if you literally panic and you're like, oh, I forgot an evaluation point, you can literally go to your spec point, then find the evaluation, and then you remember. Like I wrote long, time and lag. Those 3 words already mean to me, like I already know what the evaluation point will be, and that will like then reinforce you to remember everything else to do with that. So it's just making it really simple and like simplifying it down from like all the textbook heavy data into like 1 word or 2 words if possible. Obviously you're going to need evaluation for quite a lot of it, and I literally did that throughout my maps for everything. Just make sure you align both of them. So like even if, for example, like that's the 3rd spec point here has A, and then it has like 3 components. Make sure you write out the 3 components so you can kind of cross-check it all. Obviously this is very detailed because I wrote stuff around it like the day before the exam, but just track it, and that way when you finished it, you know that this has everything for the exam. Like this is your one source of truth. Then I did not use my folder in these like before the exam. Like I use this from March onwards. I never use my folder. You can just use this to revise from, and then you use your like whiteboard to test yourself. And this is a great way to test yourself too, which is another point, because you can write out the spec point and just see how much you remember, what detail, and that way you'll be able to practice essays from, which is really good. I actually, near the end, when I had practice papers, if there was a really good point from a past paper, I would write that in red in my mind map. I don't have it in this one, but that way, if there was any like really good points, I can just like use that to remember as well. That's basically the spec mind maps that I did for all my subjects. I did the same for biology and psychology, just in a different format. I just typed my psychology and biology ones up. I really hope it helps, and I know so many people through like my Instagram DMs, TikTok, YouTube comments, everyone has wanted to know how I've done this in more detail. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions, or like message me because I am more than happy to help. So yeah, you're gonna smash it, and if you want any other videos like this, let me know. Bye.